God.
This is the Common Council meeting to be held Tuesday, July 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. The meeting is called to order. Would you please call the roll?
Alderperson Jewswicki is excused. Alderperson Bailey.
Present.
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Alderperson Akers.
Present.
Alderperson Sarian.
Present.
Item 2 is opening prayer. We have Deacon Leggett here this evening.
And we pause for prayer. God of justice and mercy, we come before you this evening having been rewarded by a most beautiful day. We thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of this community. The members of this Common Council ask for your guidance, wisdom, and support as they begin their meeting. Give them the spirit of service and fill them with your grace as they make decisions that will affect this community. We thank you for the opportunity to come together and ask for your hand of blessing on all of us. And finally, Heavenly Father, renew all of us with the strength of your presence. And as this meeting comes to a close, deliver us to our homes safely as we await your new day tomorrow. Amen.
Amen. Item C, would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moving along, I'd entertain under item D the approval of the June 20th, 2023 Common Council minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Bailey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kastner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Under item E is adopting a resolution regarding the local government funding legislation resolution expressing support for Wisconsin Act 12. You should have received that in your packet from Paula and Tim. We discussed it at Finance. I know 3 of you were there for that.
The one that wasn't.
I'd make a motion, or under.
It's pretty much a thank you thing.
It's a thing, so this is the thing that people don't understand. Taxes in the city, there's a levy, there's a total levy, right? And that levy is about, our total budget's about 30 million, our levy's about 25 million of that, okay? And I'm speaking in broad brushstrokes. We can only raise that levy, those taxes, by net new construction every year, okay? So that means that if we have 1% net new construction, it equates to about $250,000. I can raise taxes, the total taxes among all of the people, by $250,000. Every year, 70% of our workforce is still unionized, subject to collective bargaining, is entitled to, they're getting a 2% increase in pay, which is less than other communities have recently done, and we have another year of this, thank God. And health insurance increases the cost of the city about $700,000. And you can say, well, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? We have done all of those things in this year's budget to bridge the gap between the $250,000 of taxes that I could raise in the total levy. We increase ambulance revenue. And we had something from the state which increased our Medicaid reimbursement, or Medicare reimbursement. Medicaid, I always get the two mixed up. Which basically bridged that gap. Okay? There are folks here tonight that will be talking. So as it was going, I can't every year pull rabbits out of the hat or expect something to bridge those gaps. If I can only raise taxes, which is why we try to develop things, because that's value, and if we have more value in the city, then we can raise taxes more. But when your city is worth $4 billion, to raise and go up 1%, that's $400,000. Takes about 2% now at $4 billion to just break even. There's sort of a problem. Some people will say, oh, so that's why you're reassessing. You're reassessing because you want everybody's property to be worth more, and then you can get more taxes out of me. No, the total amount of taxes that we collect is always the same. It's the levy plus whatever net new construction is. It doesn't mean that if I raise everybody's values by 60%, that somehow their taxes are now going to go up 60% and all my problems are solved. I still don't collect any more money. It's just who I collected from. I sent you all an email about the reassessment. Right now, housing prices, reminiscent of 2006, 7, and 8, with condominiums, are astronomical. Houses that once were $120,000 are selling for $240,000. Houses that were $240,000 are selling for $350,000 or $400,000. Houses that were $400,000 are selling, I think the rate of value going up as you get higher, it diminishes because there's a point of financing for people, right? Even still. But housing prices are escalating despite high interest rates. Assessments done by a third-party contractor, right? The city doesn't go out and assess these. There's someone that does this in our community and other communities, is looking at market sales. And that's essentially how they're evaluating single-family homes. So why is my house going up, but something else isn't going up? And while my neighbor has this, I encourage everybody to contact the assessor if they question their assessment and ask them to justify why the assessment is what it is. Okay? Next question, well, what are my taxes going to be? Are my taxes going to go up? My house went up 60%. Are my taxes going up 60%? No, your taxes are not going up 60%. If you want to figure out what your taxes are potentially going up or down, because some properties are going down, mostly commercial properties and office properties, because their values aren't going up. We're in a recession of sorts, and the values of commercial and office types properties are dropping, or they only went up marginally. If your old house was worth, say, $100,000, you would multiply 100 times roughly $27, and that should be about what your tax bill is now. If your house is now $200,000, you would multiply it times $22. That's the new tax rate. The rate is lower than the old one, and the rate will probably drop between $21 and $22. That's what it'll probably be.
But it's not set, right?
It's not set yet, and I'm trying to figure out what the best estimate is. So why the hell is the city charging me $22? Of the $22, the city gets about $7 and change. We get about 35% of whatever it is, maybe 38%. The school district gets 35 to 40%. The county gets about 25%. MMSD gets, I don't know, 6, 7, 8%. I'm not sure if these are all adding up to 100, but that's about it. And MATC, and I don't know what the percentage was, but they got about 90 cents out of every $22. But the state legislature has, it sounds like, and we're still going through the bills that they've passed, it sounds like all vocational, which is MATC, costs will now be paid for by the state, so MATC may drop off the property tax bill. Next question I get is, why didn't you do this? You know, it's been since 2009. Why did you wait so damn long? Well, because when we do this, we want to make sure that we're not subject to some sort of bubble. After 2009, when or 8 or 9, whatever in there, we reassessed because the state said you need to reassess. We reassessed this year because the state said you need to reassess. Your assessments are not close, you're within 10% of 100% of what the real value is. We were at about 25 to 30% of the real value, but it's equalized by a higher tax rate. If you look on your old tax bill, you'll see last year's tax bill, you'll see that there was a value of your assessment, and then there was an equalized value, which was like 0.7 something, and then there was a fair market value, and the fair market value would have been taxed at around $22. Your assessed price would have been taxed at around $27 per thousand. So after 2008 and 2009, remember back then when the economy kind of collapsed, it took about 7 to 10 years for values to start equalizing or equaling again, right? And then we were going to reassess because everything was sort of like where it was. And then COVID came. Almost a decade after all of that crap, COVID came. And what was happening during COVID? People were buying homes. They were staying in their homes. They didn't want to go outside. The market was actually quite hot during COVID to buy a house because people they weren't going to go to restaurants anymore. They were going to buy a house, which inflated houses, right? That's kind of what happened, at least in the city. After COVID, it's like now's a good time to reassess, right? That's what we thought. And then, but housing prices keep going up. So we're in this catch-22. Is this a housing bubble or not? I think we've been in a housing bubble for about 3 years now. There's no reason that houses that once were worth $130,000 are now selling for $210,000. There's something going on in the market, especially with higher interest rates. Every house, almost without exception, in Greenfield that goes on the market at a price that's substantially higher, certainly than it's assessed at, but it sells typically for less or more than it's listed for. So what happens? The assessors, with all their algorithms and all their computers and all their data, are going, all these houses are worth more. And there's a bubble. There's no question, in my mind, there's a bubble. But when actuaries or if they're actual.
Okay, got it.
So it's kind of going through the whole thing. So that's where we're at. I've had this question. So if it's $22, why can't you just make your taxes $20 then? Well, our taxes are only $7 of the 22, or maybe $8, somewhere in there, right? And 70% of my budget is not only unionized, we have to pay you, and everyone in the city gets 2%, right? Most of my budget, our budget, is police, fire, and DPW. Everything else is run with almost no redundancy, and as a skeleton. That's the truth.
Can I just say not everyone gets a 2% raise. We don't
You don't get 2% raises.
get raises.
You don't get raises. This is true. You don't get raises. So that's kind of where it's at. So the state said we were out of balance. We have to reassess this year. Next question is, why don't we reassess every year? Because the process costs about $250,000 that has to come out of our levy, and we put away $50,000 a year to save for a reassessment. And we don't want to spend the $250,000 or more to reassess unless we're certain that the reassessment's going to be accurate and fair and all of those other things. Next question. Why my house went up 60%? Why did my house go up 60%? And if everybody's houses went up 60%, shouldn't my taxes be the same? The answer is that if every piece of property in this city went up 60%, every one of them, whether it's, I don't know, Culver's or McDonald's or this place or that office building and all these houses and all these apartments, if everything went up 60% because everything was going up in value, your taxes would remain exactly the same. The problem is right now in the city, generally, this is generally, 2/3 of our city is residential. 1/3 of our city is commercial. Of the residential, about 42% is multifamily, which could be condominiums and apartments. The other 58% is single-family homes. The single-family homes have gone up a ton. I mean, they're just like 60, 70%, sometimes 100%. The multifamily has gone up about 30%. Condos, I'm not sure, I don't remember the number, but it's not the 60% number, it's above
I think
30.
above 50.
Is it above 50? So all of this 2/3, right, of residential stuff, and most of the residential stuff has gone up like a ton. The offices, the commercial spaces, and the other things that are on the commercial side have gone up 11%, 12%. Some are stagnant. Place like Spring Mall that's vacant is a dark store, right? If you go down 76th Street, you go down Layton, you see vacancy signs or lease for lease signs. 4 years ago, you wouldn't see a for lease sign anywhere on Layton or 76th Street or Highway 100. Almost everything was leased. So when this 2/3 goes up a lot, and this 1/3 doesn't go up much, the tax base shifts from whatever was over here to over here. Does that mean that we're collecting more taxes? We're still collecting whatever it is, the 25 million. It's just that the burden has shifted to the properties that have a higher accelerated value. That's what's happening right now. And trust me, and there's a gentleman in the back, and I'll let you speak, okay? I'm sorry for doing this, but I just kind of want to answer questions because I can do it in this way. I can't do it. I have been inundated with calls about this, and I understand it completely. And the truth is, I didn't want to reassess this year personally, and I don't think any of you did either, but the state has said that we need to because we're out of compliance. We didn't want to reassess because we think there's a bubble. And we think that, someone mentioned earlier that there is a recession. There is a recession. I mean, I think we've been and I'll say this publicly, I think we've been in a recession for quite some time, and I think COVID and all the dollars that were being thrown around somehow is masking it. And I might be wrong. I don't know. I'm not an economist. But I know that the labor market is tightening up. It's not as free as it was. I mean, some people still can't find people. I do get that part, and I don't know where the people are, but it's much more difficult to fill skilled positions. And I mean, I don't know, fast food is struggling, restaurants are struggling, I get that. Retail is struggling, but if you try to find an engineer, or you try to find someone with some sort of skill, I mean, other more different skills, it's almost impossible. So I get it.
The actual percentage of people's tax bill is going to be going up 10%, 20%?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on the
But
property.
It appears that we're going to be seeing a significant tax property increase.
For some, if you owned an office building, you may not see an increase at all. Your taxes may actually go down. It's my understanding that 35% was the magic number. If everything went up 35%, there would be no discernible change in your taxes. That, I think, is the magic number. Anything above 35% is a tax increase. If you own a property that's only gone up 12%, an office building, your taxes probably decline because it didn't get to the 35% number.
That's the
If
fair
you-
market value number that has been applied for the last year.
Well, that's the other part too, is those fair market value numbers are a lot different than what what the sales have been, according to the assessor. In the neighborhood that I live in, a house went on the market for over $400,000 and it was sold before the sign went up. Over asking. Another house went on the market, same situation. The sign was up, but it had already been purchased. Almost every house that goes on the market in the city, and I don't understand it, I think it's people are like, I can't live in one of these fancy apartments for $2,000 a month. It's worth it for me to buy a house that's overpriced because someday I'll make up for it, and the price is still less, at least for the $2,000 or $3,000 a month, I'm getting some equity someday, maybe, and it's mine. I
You
think
can't
there's
build
a,
it either. You cannot build a house for what you're buying, so.
there's, and I won't get into specifics, but I know someone personally that's building a house now, and a year and a half ago to build a 2,000 square foot ranch, and it was a nice ranch, the cost was $760,000. And the house is ultimately worth 4 or 5, maybe. But they had the resources and that's what they did. Ultimately, lumber prices and some other prices dropped, labor didn't, and they're paying in the 5s, I think. They don't share all of it. They just kind of weasel in with the contractors. But, so, I don't know what gives. You can come up, I'm sorry. So that's my mayor's report, but I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
By Alderperson Kastner, second by Alderperson Bailey.
Has absolutely nothing to do with kind of what you talked about, but yeah.
The only thing that it has something to talk about is like, okay, there's this resolution, the state just increased shared revenue, right? So we have had flat revenue, we get about $1 million a year, $1.5 million a year from the state. That, and I want to thank Senator Bradley and Representative Donovan, who we've worked very closely with, for getting more shared revenue coming our way. But this shared revenue is not going to have any impact whatsoever on property taxes. This gives us breathing space for the $700,000 a year that I'm talking about for probably 3 to 4 years or 5 years. Which means that as it was planned in 2025, and you can talk to Wauwatosa and you can talk to the other cities, likely people were going to be laid off. And when in a city like ours, most of our people are police and firefighters, our employees. I can give you a copy of the budget too if you want to show that, or anybody. So thank you for this. This allows us to pay that $25 million a year that goes up every year.
We didn't.
So, did you call?
We have to call still. You want me to call each? Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zarian?
Aye.
And I would ask the clerk to send that to our representatives and to the league after I sign it.
Actually, a very good explanation of the state of their assessment, Mike. Appreciate that.
I'm not, I mean,
You didn't say anything, but it's
no,
very good.
I say, but that's the reality. I mean, that's what it is. And
Very good job.
aren't there any automatic reports?
No.
I just got one. We met, the tree commission met. The city forester is planning a urban forestry event at the farmer's market. And I believe, I'll double check the date, the third Sunday in August.
Okay, thank you. Any announcements? Isn't there a concert this weekend?
There's something now.
Huh? There's one right now going on
Yeah.
over there, but there's,
Facebook is saying how packed Layton Avenue is. And
yeah,
they're
we can
right.
get through Layton Avenue. That's a good thing. have heard about that quite a bit too, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
They closed down late, I didn't know.
No, they did, yeah. And it was really loud. H, citizen commentary. So just give me a second while
The mic is on. I did
is
put
it on? You got
Yep.
it on? Okay, so under citizen commentary, we have, could you just state your name and your address?
My name is James Conkle, 4155 South 99th Street. Okay.
If you bring up the mic too, you're kind of tall, that's cool. And not to make you feel nervous, but you could be broadcast to over 7 billion people right now on YouTube, so.
Yeah. Anyways, if the state wanted it, I don't know why it had to go up so much. Mine went up 59%, 162,000 extra, overnight. And I say, why so much? If the state wanted more, all right, take why, it didn't have to go so much, and we don't want no new projects. We don't want you guys thinking, okay, now we got a new
not getting
plat.
any more
I know, that's what I heard, and I appreciate the preacher, because that helps settles me down, and that's a good thing that you have him speak first, and but yeah, just when Trump was in, he made the economy boom, everything was going good, and that's why everything was going so good, and I think this is just, but now, I heard the news a week ago that now the housing is starting to go down, and so we reached the top, and now we're starting to level down, and yes, some houses are still gonna sell extraordinarily high and whatnot, but we're not selling, we're staying, and what do you tell the people that are staying? It's just not fair, and I just hope this doesn't make you all think, we can do new projects and this and that, and it sounds like it won't, so I appreciate that, and appreciate all the work you guys do for us, and that's it. I just want to voice my opinion.
Okay. If I could just go back to Mayor's
Yeah, please
report
do.
for 1 second. Part of me is almost, it's like we almost have to see if we can
Delay.
delay it, because there is a bubble. I know there's a bubble. I mean, anybody that lives in the world, unless, do people, I don't know, does
I
people
disagree
think
with
there's
the
a bubble,
commercial.
or do you think it's just, they're all just gonna stay there?
I disagree with the commercials being so deflated.
I just wonder if it's because there's so much people still at home working, that people don't need these office spaces. They've downsized office spaces, and that's why that's dropped down. But it's frustrating. I mean, mine is, I can't afford this. I'm on a single parent of two. It's
And our
not
electric
easy
bills,
to
gas
do this.
bills.
I'm not,
Oh, I know,
I'm just-
I know. Well,
So,
thank you all.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so the next one is the public hearing. Is anybody here from Mocanet by chance? The applicant? No. This is public hearing, I1, public hearing on the special use permit for Mocanet, a proposed limited service restaurant to be located 4848 South 76th Street, submitted by Mohammed Assad, doing business as Metro Suites LLC. This is to approve a resolution for a special use permit as well as a site plan review.
Okay, you'll see on the screen, there is the location of the proposed Mokinut restaurant. The new tenant is proposing to open Mokinut in former T-Mobile tenant space on 76th Street. It's 1,300 square feet. It's the second of this chain in Wisconsin. Zoned PUD, which permits limited service restaurants as a special use. The proposed hours of operation, 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. or midnight daily. The Plan Commission recommended approval, and no letters of objection or support received to date.
There's a person named Dan Kaza. Is he here?
Oh, I was here for the spring mall, not.
Okay. Just kind of signed up for this one though, huh? That's okay. Do you have any comments on it? Can I get rid?
It's gonna be interesting food.
I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Actually, before I do that, is anyone that would like to speak for or against informational purposes concerning this item other than Dave? who has chosen not to speak. Is anybody else who wants to speak for or against for informational purposes concerning this item? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
By Alderperson Kastner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Akers, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Does the council wish to approve the resolution for the special use permit and approve the site plan review?
Motion to approve.
By Alderperson Kastner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Bailey.
Ask a question. So this is a donut shop?
It's a Hawaiian donut shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're open till midnight, or they just want the flexibility for
I
that
think they want the
timeframe?
flexibility. I don't suspect that they will be. And there's no immediate homes in the area, so.
Okay, just, I
Yeah.
mean, they're servicing, never mind.
They're what?
Never mind, I won't say it.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, if there, so the other thing is if there is an issue,
The proprietor seems really like,
all right. So no private conversations up here. We're in a public meeting. Okay.
Nothing,
Motion
nothing.
was made and seconded. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item I2 is a public hearing on amendment to ordinance 3010 for pertaining to a PUD Planned Unit Development District. This is to approve an amendment to ordinance 3010 pertaining to basically the Spring Mall.
Yep, Plato's,
Right?
okay.
Do we need to go through it, or do we just?
We have somebody
So there
here.
are some people here. Do you want to go through it?
Yeah, let me go through it. So this, the proposed ordinance amendment eliminates just the last section, that the rezoning goes into effect only if Cobalt purchased the property. So this is a very, very small, very minor change. The elimination of the last section means that the property will be officially rezoned to PUD4, and the ordinance becomes recorded with the Milwaukee County Register of Deeds. This provides the city further control of future uses and prospective redevelopment opportunities. The Plan Commission recommended approval, and there were no letters of objection or support received. So like I said, this is a very small change. It just removes that statement that it was only if Cobalt purchased the property, because the city purchased the property.
So the way, in a nutshell, what happened is when we went to a public hearing late last fall, and that site plan right there was shown, right? That showed basically three components. It showed bigger apartments on the corner, it showed townhouses adjacent to the residential neighborhood, and it showed a restaurant where you see the deeper color orange up there, right? This is still these are still the three elements that we hope to have in the redevelopment of Spring Mall. Currently, however, since then, the city has purchased the property. Cobalt is not the developer, although it has an exclusive right for 6 months that it paid for, but I'm not sure has returned that agreement to us. I'm not
Side
sure.
document.
I don't know what's going on. It's likely that where you see the restaurant and the big apartments, as like if they were three puzzle pieces, Myers is as we've extended, as the owner now, we've extended the lease to Meyer. Their lease was set to expire at the end of June. They are currently on a month-to-month lease. We're negotiating with Meyer for them to potentially purchase the building, the entire building on the south, and the parking pads that are immediately adjacent to it. It's likely, if that sale goes through, we will be in a financial position to tear down the mall and the building that's in the middle, the utility building that people might be aware of. What would happen in the spring is that we would go out, we would essentially do an RFP with this zoning in place, with the idea that the townhomes that were good with the neighborhood before, or a variant, would be consistent with that.
Along
The
with
larger stuff would be where the restaurant is, and where the restaurant is on here is essentially the building that Meyer is in.
Can I just say
Also, as
too?
part of the sale, I'll just want to point out something else. When we purchased this property and it was sort of a fire sale, was it substantially less than Cobalt was going to purchase it last November? We received and hold money as a credit from the sale to install the fence along the property line. And it is our intent to do that once we have a developer in place.
Can I also say, that we also want to hold the developer to the buffer that the neighborhood,
So the only significant change to this plan, as far as RFP would be concerned, is that the restaurant wouldn't be where you see it. That denser, bigger stuff would be up in that corner. The restaurant would remain as it is. We're negotiating things, real estate REA agreements with Myers as the owner of that other property with regard to easements and travel and parking and all those other things. Before this meeting, Mr. Sokol, who lives on the corner in that triangular lot, approached us, and there were things represented to him, during the previous process. The goal for the city is to adhere to those kinds of ideas that
Agreements.
came up in the public hearing. So what does this mean right now? This has absolutely no impact whatsoever to anybody. The only thing was that previously Brixmor refused to change the zoning. And it would only allow the change of zoning to happen if Cobalt actually purchased the property. Cobalt didn't purchase the property, so the old commercial zoning remains in place. The PUD zoning allows us have more control over the property. The current zoning as it is, we have been approached by companies like U-Haul. I don't want to mention names. Companies that do stuff like U-Haul that want to just take the building as it is and turn it into like self-storage, and that's not in the best long-term interest of the city to do something like that. And I think all of us sort of agree with that. There is no proposed development on the site right now. The only thing that's in the immediate future is breaking off the southern parcel in a sale to Myers, the owners of Myers, who have still expressed an interest in having another restaurant at that location.
and to demolish the buildings,
And we would like to demolish the building,
and put a fence up.
which there's been fires in, and we have done all sorts of protected measures to reduce the liability to the city. We have police going through constantly. I don't know if you live there, you can probably see
Anyone
it.
signed up to speak?
There's,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't, so, that's the one you signed up for.
yes.
Okay, you signed up for the other one, sorry, okay.
Mokinut,
So Dan Kaza, 4164 South 72nd Street?
that's correct.
Okay, sorry, speaking for information only.
Right. I somewhat feel partly responsible for you guys buying this property. Either it's coincidence, I don't know. I'm a student at UW Milwaukee. I was doing a research project on creating a veterans makerspace and just doing research. I live in the neighborhood. I've been staring at that property for several years now. And yeah, so I called Brixmor. I went on their website. I was just trying to get a ballpark number of how much the property is worth. Like, I don't have that kind of money. I absolutely don't have millions of dollars. But I asked. Nobody responded, and then 2 weeks later, you guys bought it. So I just thought it was kind of weird.
It
but
didn't happen that quick, yeah, I mean, just.
It happened quick, but not that quick.
I was like, did I do this? But no.
So with regard to the value of the property, just to try to answer sort of the question, the property was going to be sold last November. The offer to purchase was 6.6 million. That's what the offer was. That deal fell through. After that deal fell through, and because this plan was the best, we all kind of thought this was the best sort
And
of
the neighborhood was
compromise.
happy with it.
They weren't happy, but they were
They were-
in a better position than having a vacant store next to them, right?
Right.
So we tried to convince the developer and Brixmor, the owner, to get back together. There was 2 or 3 months of going back and forth. At some point, we learned from Cobalt that Brixmor was going to sell it as a fire sale. That's what they,
Yeah, I read the email, I'm tracking.
I don't know if
But
you know-
it just, it caught me
Yeah.
off guard, thinking that, they didn't want to sell it to me, but I was never going to buy it anyways.
yeah.
And so anyways, being a blight in our community, just this vacant office space, as a art student, I'm just tempted to ask you guys to, for starters, there's a fence line. My neighbors across the street, they've been asking for the fence to be repaired for several years now. Just get that taken care of, like help her out a little bit.
Yeah, so
And-
just so you know, as part of the deal, there was a $100,000 credit off the purchase price, which is being held right now by us to put that fence in.
Okay,
We just don't want to put the fence in until we know what's happening. Alderperson Akers has been very ferocious with regard to
Ferocious.
her
Desire for a fence?
representation of the neighborhood for the fence that's been falling down, and every time it fell down, and right?
right.
So we have the money in place. We got a $100,000 credit for it. We think we can put that fence up for 60.
Okay, cool.
And then just as far as the value of the property, just to answer your question, the entire property was assessed at 4.8 million. And it was assessed as a dark store. And if you know what that means, it means that because it's dark, it doesn't have as much value as, say, an ongoing business. So, yeah.
All right, well, I suppose they could probably just email Pam about potential use for the space while you guys wait, because after eavesdropping on your conversations prior to the meeting and everything about the taxes, and nothing's going to happen, right? Probably for several years, it almost feels
I
like.
hope less.
So the fear was that if Brixmor held on to it, so Brixmor was, from what we can tell, was spending between $250,000 and $500,000 per year on the property. They were heating the big building in the winter. We worked with to keep the sprinkler system going and all that stuff. We went through, and I want to thank the new fire chief and Johnny Name at the fire department. We figured out a way to do it where we can shut off the gas. So they were bleeding money at the site. And we shouldn't be, because we figured out how to not bleed the site. But they just need to get rid of it. One of the impetuses for this was about 2 months ago, somebody had broken into the building, and someone may have noticed water coming out of the back of the building. They had started a bonfire under one of the sprinklers. So there was actually a fire in the building, and they started another fire in an office space that was like on the second floor. So we have secured the building. We continue to do whatever we need to do. We've mitigated the costs associated with the maintenance of the building, and we want to tear it down as quickly as we can. And I think once we do that, there are very few 20-acre sites in Milwaukee County that are buildable like that. Whatever happens, I'm convinced that the city will be made whole and then some plus. But Brixmor was just gonna, the thought was that Brixmor was just gonna give the mortgage back to the bank and say, we don't want it.
They got a Northridge it to us.
They were kind of the Northridge situation or the Boston store kind of thing, right, in Southridge. And we did not want that to happen because nothing would have happened for 2 or 3 years while we went through that process.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we
buying
want
it.
to get it out of there. And it's not a Woodman's.
That Target,
It's not a Target. Target's not building. Woodman's looked at it at one point. It was almost a Woodman's, but they aren't doing it.
no.
So,
Motion to close public hearing?
does anybody else want to have, if you could give us your name and your address too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you sign up a sheet or state your name
Yeah,
and
fill out one of
address?
those green sheets when you're done then. You can do that later. Just-
Yep. So my name's Tyler Mensch, and I live at 7507 West Cold Spring. When you say a fence, are you going to build a fence around the back of it too, or where's the fence going to be?
So if you look,
East side.
it would be east side along that neighborhood to the right.
Yeah. Go up.
It's
yeah.
replacement of an existing fence.
The one, okay, lovely.
Basically from the power line trail
think I know what you're gonna say. Keep going.
Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Okay. What is like the long-term plan? Is the city gonna stay here at the city hall? Is there any plans of moving over to like 51st and Layton?
No.
This is gonna be like the main area of the city?
So getting back to that lengthy discussion they had about taxes and levies and costs and everything, this building is paid for, and other than the bumps that are in the wall whenever it heats up, you see that, how the wall's
Pictures are
bowing
bulging.
over there? Other than that kind of stuff, this is the most cost-effective way for the city to conduct business.
I like this building. I think it's cool. I stare at the property every day, pull out of the driveway and I see it. I'm glad you guys bought it.
Where do you live, over on the other side?
Yeah, so right across from Walgreens next to Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay.
My assessment, I feel, went up unfairly, so I'll be contacting the assessor.
I'm telling you, I encourage everyone to do it, and I know they don't want me to say that. But
Right.
they need to justify some of that.
Can I get is there a copy of an assessment that I can have?
The thing that I would recommend that you should, I don't know, you have to call the assessor.
Okay.
If you're looking for what form did they fill out to calculate this, I'm guessing every property has something like.
I would think you'd made available if you make an appointment with them next week.
Okay,
I have an appointment.
Do you?
for yours?
Well, I actually asked for an appointment for all the commercial properties. I was complain about those. They wouldn't let me do that.
I had concerns about multifamily, but that's me, so,
Yeah, I have no concerns or anything. I just was interested,
yeah. So are you on 76th Street or? are you
I'm on Cold Spring.
Cold
So right next, there's like, so on Forest Home, there's that apartment building across from the post office. That's directly my neighbor from the back. So,
No, at one point, we were talking about trying to, and you can't see it there, but all of this has been, this was my dentist when I was in grade school.
yeah.
But this area is, and going all the way up to the old Cole's Food Store and the tattoo place and Rogan's, I mean, that is a area ripe for redevelopment. But the cost of, the land acquisition costs are so extreme that, not sure that we could do that.
No, I don't think right now.
Yeah, well,
Oh, there's just,
we bought our house when it was an office building in '21. But because it was an office building, no one was looking at it, so we didn't have to like compete with anyone to buy it. It'd been on the market for 260 days. Every other house that we looked at, there'd be 10 offers within, 24 hours of it going on the market. So, that's why we bought it. We probably wouldn't have bought it otherwise.
so is it still considered residential or is it office?
Well,
So the zone, be careful of the zoning, because if it's zoned commercial, it may be at a higher rate, but commercial properties didn't increase as much as residential did. So check your zoning.
I think it is still residential, or at least partially, but yeah, I don't want to change it if it's gonna make it more.
I don't even know who you are, so just,
Yeah, very good.
We did,
Very
turn us
good.
away.
I'm just kind of saying.
I just
that-
said who I am, but okay, yeah, no.
but
Well, actually, it's not
now
my
that
name.
this is
so.
recorded and everyone's watching, but the reality is that I would encourage you to meet with the assessor and try to figure out how they valued your property.
Yeah. I mean, if we had put a new roof and new windows in, I would think it was actually kind of fair, but yeah. So I have no further comments.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. I appreciate it. If you can fill one of those green sheets just with your name and address, I'd appreciate it. Does anyone else want to speak for or against or informational purposes concerning this item? Does anyone else want to speak for or against or informational purposes concerning this item? I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public
By
hearing.
Alderperson Akers, all in favor?
We need a second, actually.
Seconded
second.
by Kastner, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Does anyone wish to approve the amendment to ordinance number 3010?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Alderperson Akers, is there a second?
Second.
By Alderperson Sarian, would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey? Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Jay, under old business, various committees and commissions, I have no appointments this evening. I don't think, nope, I don't. Great, I'm pretty sure I don't have any. New business, approve K1, approve applications for 2023, 2024 operator licenses. Entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
By Alderperson Akers, is there a second?
Second.
Alderperson Kastner, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 2, approve applications for amusement licenses, license to expire July 31st, 2024. Entertainment.
Motion.
By Alderperson Bailey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kastner, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 3 is approve an application for a Class A fermented malt beverage and liquor retailer license to Sing Aish Sunkwinder Sin, agent for the property 4312 West Howard Avenue, known as Jen's Beer and Liquor. The description is there. I'd entertain a motion to approve that application.
I move for approval.
Motion by Alderperson Sarian, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Bailey, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 4 is consider and approve the 2024-2026 cooperation agreement with Milwaukee County and the City of Greenfield Rehousing and Community Development. This is the community development block grant agreement with the county where they act as our, we can't get this on our own, so we work through the county and all the other communities that can't too. So West Allis, Milwaukee, and Wauwatosa can apply for long block grants. We don't have the size to do it. I entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion. Second.
By Akers, second by Kastner. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Okay, maybe Scott can come up here a little bit. This is discussion decision regarding agreement with Milwaukee County for Community Development Block Grant Program reallocation funds. So in a nutshell, this is why we want this agreement, and in that we will have Scott go through it.
Sure. Every couple of years, I guess HUD comes in, reviews the county and how they apply the block grant funds that comes in through the federal government. And then what happens usually if there's funds are either spent inappropriately or unexpended, they go through a reallocation process. Mayor Neitzke found out about it at an ICC meeting early summer. We got the email. We quickly put together our reallocation request. In which, and of course, your packet was approved at $300,000. So we don't have the physical agreement other than the award letter that you have with us. We're still waiting that document from the county. But like any other block grant, it falls under specific guidelines of where and how it can be used. Obviously, it needs to fall into a low, moderate income area. Conkle Park is a low to moderate income area. It also has to be completed by October 1st of this year, so a very, very aggressive timeline, and then seek reimbursement by October 18th of this year. Typical county, hurry up and wait, but then we want all our stuff now. So the projects that we're looking at that are made up that are all basically in Conkle Park. And I think they're spelled out in the brief, or I can go through those if you would like.
Can you just tell me briefly, because I'm not aware what.
Certainly. So it's broken down into 3 components. So remember, it has to fit in the criteria for block grants. So the first one that we're looking at doing is replacing and repairing all the poured-in-place surfacing around the Conkle Park North playground. That falls under ADA compliancy for that playground. The second part is addressing, I would say, ADA access or access to like the farmer's market, or addressing some of the asphalt in and around that area. So mainly resealing or crack sealing the farmer's market area, the AMP area, Conkle Park East parking lot, the main parking lot, as well as doing some repairs as much as we can under that part. The third part is the design engineering for the Conkle Park West nature shelter area that would be completed and then be bid over the winter for spring construction, which is also tied to block grant dollars over the previous 2 years of allocation. That'll be part of that funding process.
And that's the one by the pond, right?
Excuse me?
Is that the one by the pond?
Yes.
Correct, yes, yep, yes.
Okay.
So we have to get this approved immediately. We have to get these projects in place. They have to be done by October 1st, and we have to seek reimbursement by October 18th, but it's $300,000.
We're gonna do
We can
it.
accomplish that.
So Alderperson Bailey, when we were walking around the pond, like, well, how do we pay for this? How do we pay for this, right? And we talked about the shelter. So this, in great part, this is a good thing with regard to the shelter because it provides the costs that would have necessarily had to be next year. We can get the engineering and everything going this year so that we can bid it next year, but this will pay for that part of the engineering.
Yep.
It will also update the farmer's market and the crack sealing and all those expenses, and it'll make the playground safer. So this is a good thing.
No pickleball courts?
No, that's at
Well,
the,
that unfortunately would not fall under
It
block
doesn't
grant guidelines.
qualify.
We have tried, we have talked about it, because it is typically a game that more seniors play than not.
And
Aren't-
younger
aren't we
people too,
looking
like
at
you,
it?
Bruce.
We're trying.
aren't they looking at it at the Holy Mackerel?
I believe that's in their plan,
Their
yes.
Holy
Yes.
macro site plan.
They have
there
3
are
or 4
pickleball
courts, yep, but-
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's as close
So
as
I'd
we're gonna get to
entertain a
Conkle, probably.
Are we all, I'd entertain a motion to approve the
A
agreement.
motion to approve if we.
By Alderperson Akers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Caster, would you call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Item 6 is approve and alter special event application for Friends Fest, which is located at Friends Bar at 5614 West Forest Home Avenue, September 1st and 2nd. They've been doing this for the last few years, and there haven't been complaints. I'd entertain a
No,
motion
a
to
motion to
approve.
approve.
By Alderperson Caster,
Second.
second by Alderperson Bailey. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion.
Closing down Forest Home though, aren't they?
They're closing down Forest Home from. Sometimes I don't think you guys realize how many calls and stuff I get.
I got them too.
Them too, and they're not
No,
even
so
close.
I don't think you get that part sometimes.
Why do you think I said no?
Yeah, it's why I get high blood pressure and stuff, I think. Item
Although,
7,
I will have to say, that was a huge boom for our city and our economy. I mean, it was incredible. People from all over the world came here, and people from all over the world spent money in our city, and our hotels were full, so they can stay afloat. As painful as it is for some, it was a good thing.
all I can say, I mean, I live in a house that's like 200 feet from the freeway, and it was a constant drone of motorcycles for basically 5 or 6 days. I mean, constant, it didn't matter what time of the day it was either.
I get it from both sides.
Yeah, no, and, but I'll say, despite all of that, despite the inconvenience of Layton, and despite the phone calls, there are a lot of cities and states and places in the world that spend millions of dollars marketing to have people come to their community to spend money. And I was at Cops, and I was at Panera, and I was at some of these other places, and there were Harley shirts everywhere, and there were motorcycles everywhere.
Culver's was quite busy.
I think everybody, the gas stations, this is a good thing, right? And I understand the bass was killing me for the first night from the rock band. I mean, that was
They projected it towards my neighborhood than the rest of the time.
I asked them to project it to your
got
house,
me.
and they can do that with acoustics.
They did it.
I used to do sound for bands a long time ago. They can also just turn the EQ down on that side, and it'll take some of those.
I do
But-
love that feeling though.
When I was younger, I won't get into it.
I got several complaints about the noise.
I have had some too. And you visited residents and.
I did visit them.
So, did we vote on that?
Yep.
Sorry about that. I digress,
Yep, it passed.
right? 7? Are we up to 7 now?
On 7.
Approve granting a construction easement, a waiver of appraisal and a statement to the construction engineer to the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. This relates to Spring Mall, right? Is this the Spring Mall one? Yep, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
By Alderperson Kastner, second by Alderperson Bailey. Can you call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
What should I say?
Aye.
Okay.
Alderperson
Aye.
Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 9 is approve a special use review and site plan review for the change of ownership at Plato's Closet. And entertain a motion to approve.
What about 8?
Oh, sorry, 8, approve purchase of land for West Carpenter right-of-way and trail easements. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
A motion by Alderperson Bailey. Is there a second?
Second.
This is the one by the woods, right?
Yeah, for
Yes,
Whitnall
yes.
Second by
Acres.
Akers. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Okay, so this is a way that we continue to improve the trail system any way that we can so that the city is as interconnected as possible.
Interconnecting neighborhoods is a good thing.
And
So
schools.
this connects the neighborhoods to the Nature Center, to the Whitnall High School areas. And hopefully at some point, that'll all get connected to the power line trail somehow. So that's a beautiful thing when that stuff happens. Okay, 9, approve special use review and site plan review, Plato's Closet. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion
By Bailey, second by Kastner. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 10, approve a memorandum of understanding between the Wisconsin Elections Commission and the City of Greenfield to participate in the 2023 absentee ballot envelope subgrant program. This basically gives us money to buy envelopes for absentee ballots.
Motion to approve.
By Bailey, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Akers, would you call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
Item 11 is discussion decision to approve a facility use agreement with the Adoration Lutheran Church to provide a polling location for the 2024 through 2025 elections. Entertain a motion to approve.
I move for approval.
By Alderperson Sarian, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Akers. What'd you call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
Item 12 and 13 I'll take together. These are two grant agreements with the Health Department and Department of Health Services from the state of Wisconsin. Entertain a motion to approve 12 and 13
I'll make the motion.
by Akers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Sarian. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
14 is approve a service agreement update with TDS to move all services for the city under a single account and purchase equipment for the migration between copper and IP-based systems. And entertain a motion to approve.
I move for approval.
Sarian, second by Bailey. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
Items 15, 16, 17, and 18 I'll take together. These are the typical financial items for the city, monthly items. I'd entertain a motion to approve those.
I move for approval.
By Alderperson Sarian, second by Alderperson Bailey. Would you please call?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 19, Common Council go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 1985, parent 1, parent B, and parent F, considering licensure, social or personal history or medical information for purposes of issuing a 2023-2024 operating license to Lonnie Strasser, right? And he's here this evening. I'd entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
By Alderperson Bailey. Is there a
Second.
second? Would you please call by Akers?
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
There's our new fire chief, by the way, right there. Tom
Alder-
Konecka.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Zaryan?
Aye.
Aye.
How you doing?
It sure is, so we are, did we get,
Yep, we're good.
so we are technically now in closed session, if everyone can
Stop
turn
the
off. And you're Mr. Strasser, if you could come sit up here, that'd be great.
Motion,
I make it, you second it.
all right,
I'll make a motion to go into open session.
second.
By Kastner,
Second.
made by Akers, seconded by Kastner, 811, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Does the council wish to take any action with regard to 21? Motion to approve the operator license.
We can make the motion. I'll make a motion to
Motion
approve.
by Akers to approve the license, there a second? Second by Bailey, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 11, items for future agenda, I'm not aware of very many. Concerned about the assessment stuff, and I'm concerned about the short time window. I am concerned about that, and I don't know what the options are with regard to that. You're all good. So if you come in tomorrow, go see the clerk's office, you're all set. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Sorry we made you wait.
Come into the clerk's office and she'll give me a printout of
She'll give you the license.
Yes, that may. Okay, so you're giving me my phone? Okay, thank you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, that was very nice.
I'm
Thorough.
worried about this is a substantial amount of,
This is,
I don't know if we can delay it, I don't know if we can, but I would like, I don't know, because the state truly did order us to do this.
Can we order the
Well, we
state
can-
to
we
do
can
some stuff
question
too?
Results, is that
Well, just, I
logical?
don't want to get into those discussions here.
Yeah,
because
'cause we're
it's
in-
not agenda and
yeah.
everything, but, there's going to be a lot of questions, and there's a short timeline to answer all these questions, and I want to make sure the residents have all the answers that they need, right? And that it's not just, I'm not, right?
I'm not ready to accept the work that they did.
I don't know, I don't want to, this isn't the proper discussion, it's not agenda, but I think there may be some items related to that.
Okay.
we need a motion for, to adjourn.
To adjourn,
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah. 14
Second.
by Bailey, second by Akers, all in favor?
Aye.